joining me and Alex, we have Lucia Fishburne via telephone. Welcome to the show, Lucia.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm good.
We have to say congratulations. Being the Florida Film Commissioner is a pretty big deal. So this is exciting for you.
Yes, it was especially exciting coming in 2 weeks before the legislative session.
That's interesting. Now, before we start talking about what plans you have for the Florida film industry, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are now.
Well, I actually started out in workforce development and education, and was working a little bit on the periphery at that time with the film industry with an organization called the Florida Institute for Film Education. Our goal was really to kind of connect the industry and education leaders together to get them to dialogue, make sure that the schools were teaching what the industry needed in terms of the folks coming out and working with them. And from there, got into a little bit of workforce development training programs. And here I am. I have a background in marketing communications, and I also have a background in entertainment myself. Prior to all my real jobs, I was actually a road musician for a number of years and made a living as a singer-songwriter and
Did you really?
Wow.
I did.
That is pretty awesome.
Nice.
I don't think I've read that anywhere on any of your information that's out there on the World Wide Web.
Was there
That's really not the kind of thing you put on your resume, but what the heck, you know?
Lucia, this is Alex. Just for curiosity, when you were a musician, who was your musical inspiration?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up.
Who was your musical inspiration when you were a musician?
Oh, it would have to be Chrissy Hind of the Pretenders.
Oh,
Wow,
yeah, she's
very nice.
awesome.
Absolutely.
Now, Lucia, you were at the, oddly enough, you were at the Governor's Climate Convention or Conference today. Mm-hmm. How does the climate conference, and I believe the Governor was there, how does that partner with what you're trying to do in the film business here in Florida?
Well, you know, it's interesting, and by the way, the Governor was fantastic. Great
Did you meet him?
Humor. I did not get to meet him. I had lunch with him along with 800 other people.
Oh, gotcha.
But it was really great. Actually, you know, Florida is traditionally has been a location state, so anything that impacts our environment is pretty critical to our industry. And something else people don't think about is the fact that we have great light here, which can also be impacted by development and pollution, et cetera. So there's actually a pretty good tie-in. And then a third important issue to remember is that our state is often a good branded by some of our beautiful scenery. I think really what comes to mind the most, because I'm down here in South Florida, is the Everglades. When you see the Everglades in a movie or a TV show, you know you're looking at Florida.
Sure, yeah, you do.
Lucia, what are some of the incentives that we may be able to offer to people wanting to film in the state?
Well, you probably know that our production incentive actually was one of the fallouts of the legislative session this year. It was pretty brutal this year, and we were competing with some major priorities like education and health care and safety. So we took a hit. We went from $25 million to $5 million. And production incentives are very popular all around the world. We have a lot of competitors that have raised their ante, so to speak. And the way these incentives work is that they basically, ours works as a rebate after a company comes in here and they're qualified for certain expenditures associated with Florida wages or products and services bought in Florida. They go through a certification process. Once that happens, they do their production. They submit their audited paperwork to us. We can rebate them on those Florida wages in products and services for anywhere from 10 to 22%, depending on different variables. But yeah, it was tough losing those dollars. I mean, there's really a great economic impact. $6 every dollar we invest.
So with that one being cut, with the legislation coming up soon, are there other offers on the table or other things you're going to try to pass?
Absolutely. I mean, it wasn't 2 weeks after our session was over that we were, many of us around the state were already talking about what we needed to do as far as our strategy for next year. And there's a number of meetings going on with different organizations and a lot of dialogue going on on how we're going to approach this next legislative session. Now, we do still have our sales tax exemption, which is very attractive. And we also, as I mentioned, we have our locations. I mean, we are Florida, so we don't have to dangle a whole lot of money in front of folks to get them down here. But we do have to be able to compete and kind of ante up to be in the game.
And Lucia, how
Mm-hmm.
with the current economic climate here in Florida seems to be a destination that filmmakers want to film. How have the other states throughout the nation, how has the economic climate impacted them and their budgets?
Well, interestingly enough, many of them have really seen that this is a pretty swift way to get dollars directly infused into their economies. So as we saw our dollars go down, unfortunately, a lot of the other states were either coming into the game for the first time or expanding their existing incentives. So we have, probably you're familiar with our competition in
Sure.
Louisiana and New Mexico.
I thought Louisiana kind of went down as far as being a competitor only because of the hurricanes that were passed through there not too long ago.
Well, actually, they have had a very aggressive incentive program.
They do.
Particularly Shreveport, of all places.
Right, they do.
So what can we do to change that here in Florida to get more funding?
Well, I think what we're realizing is that we've got to be able to tell our story in a way that the people who are making the policy decisions can really understand, where it really brings it home to them. And this year we're also dealing with a lot of, it's an election year. We've got a lot of new folks potentially coming in. So we have an opportunity to, on the front end, find out, what exactly people do know about this industry and how it impacts the state. And who might be our next champions. We're going to do an economic assessment, which has not been done since 2003, which will include a fiscal impact study. So that's going to give us some great ammunition, great background information that we really need to be able to tell the story of why this is an important industry to the state.
Lucy, we're about to run out of time, but I want to ask one more question. With the Super Bowl being in Florida this year, is that going to bring a lot of money in with all of the television crews and filming that's going on here next year?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's not all gloom and doom, and I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, there's still a lot of production going on in the state, and we just came off of a really great year, by the way, because we had $25 million last year, and those projects, for the first time in the history of our incentive, were allowed to cross over fiscal years. So some of that kind of is trickling into this year as well. So, there's still good news all around. Commercials are still pretty viable. I see it as kind of a blip and like to be focused on more the positive in the long term. There's a lot of demand for content, and that's not going to change. So I think Florida's in a good position. And a lot of times people don't remember. I mean, I don't want to get into the weeds of government, but we are a balanced budget state. So we aren't, when the economy comes back, we'll be starting out in a good position. We won't be $20 billion in debt, like some other states. So.
Well, you have big shoes to fill and a big job, and whatever we can do, I don't know how we can help you. We'd love to help you. And we want to have you back in 6 months. We want to keep getting updates from you, finding out how things are going. Give us some contact information, the website, if people want to find more about the Film Commission.
Go to filminflorida.com.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I know
Thank
that
you,
you are
Lucia.
busy, so go eat some dinner.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity. I can't wait to talk to you again.
I look forward to it.
Okay,
We are going
bye-bye.
to take our next break.